Anin Abanujiag, it is time for Friday Literacy. And your story today is Over and Under the Pond. And I picked this book written by Kate Messner and art by Christopher Silas Neal because it relates to what we've been talking about with our grandfather teaching of wisdom. And this book relates because it has to do with being mindful, thinking about and considering other things. And in this book, what the two characters have to consider are the well-being of the animals and plants and environment around them. And to be wise means thinking about the perspectives of others. And one of those perspectives for us means having to take care of where we live and where we go. So not just ourselves and our hearts and our minds and our bodies, and not just the hearts and minds and bodies of the people we love, but also our planet. And remember, wisdom has to do with knowing the difference between a right thing to do and a wrong thing to do. So keep that in mind as we go through our story. Here we go. Over and Under the Pond. Look at all the fish. Over and under the pond. Over the pond we slide, splashing through the lily pads, sweeping through the reeds. The water's a mirror reflecting the sky, sunshine and clouds, then a shadow below. What's down there? I ask. Under the pond? Mom says. Under the pond is a whole hidden world of minnows and crayfish, turtles and bullfrogs. We are paddling over them now. Look at all that life under there. Over the pond we skim past tall rushes. Whirligig beetles loop and twirl, skaters on a warm summer surface. Under the pond, minnows dart through waving forests of grass, while a brook trout lurks, ready to lunge. So much life in a pond. Over the pond we lift and dip and pull past a row of painted turtles on a waterlogged tree. 1, 2, 3, they slip off and away. Splash, gurgle, sploosh, under the pond. Look back there. Do you see the loon? Little red-winged blackbird. Over the pond, cattails rustle and shush in the wind. Listen close. Cuckleree! Red-winged blackbirds race by. One has grass for her nest. Under the pond, a caddisfly larva builds a home of her own, a secret shelter of pebbles and sand. Here it is. Over the pond, the shadows of trees lean out from the shore. We coast under a low-hanging branch. A moose looks up with a mouthful of water lilies. We've interrupted his lunch. Under the pond, beavers dive deep. They pump with powerful tails and rise to the surface with delectable roots pulled up from the mud. Delicious. Over the pond, the wind gives us a push and stirs the light dappled leaves on shore. There on a branch, a new goldfinch teeters, finally ready to fly. Under the pond, tadpoles are changing, learning to hop. They're losing tails, growing legs, and growing up. Over the pond, there at the shore, tall and silent and still, a great blue heron stares down into the deep. It tenses, takes one long-legged step. See, they're staying far away, watching it hunt. And it strikes. It catches a wiggling quicksilver minnow from where it was hiding under the pond. Over the pond we drift, heads tipped up to the sun. A woodpecker clings to a teetering pine, digging for ants. Wow, I like this picture. There's the boat way down there, and here we are, way up in the tree tops. We're way up here with this woodpecker. That is a neat perspective they drew that picture from. Under the pond, an otter claws for freshwater mussels. Can you see them? All on the bottom. Over the pond, a sleepy dragonfly lands for a rest. His spindly legs tickle my knee. Under the pond, dragonfly larvae watch what swims by. They catch minnows in their monster-fast jaws. Can you believe it? Someday this little guy that lives under the water will crawl out and his body will change and he'll become a dragonfly. Pretty cool. Ooh. Over the pond, the shadows stretch. Ospreys circle on quiet wings. Raccoons and mink stalk the shorelines for their supper. Looks like this one's going to go after this crayfish. Under the pond, with the flip of a tail, a crayfish disappears into the dark. Oh, maybe he got away. Maybe he did not become that raccoon's dinner. Over the pond, we head for home. We glide, swish bump, right up onto the shore as a far-off loon calls good night. The sky turns from sunset to dusk to dark. Night settles over the pond. The prowling catfish and drowsy turtles, the scuttling crayfish and tadpoles turned frogs, waiting for herons and stalking raccoons. Oh, wow. Looks like a little drop must have fallen on the pond. You can see the ripples going out from there. And the stars reflected in the water. And the trees. And the hidden world under the pond. The end. Now, if you notice in this story, they didn't really go after any of the animals. They didn't pick any of the plants that they saw. They wanted to just let that nature be nature around them. So one thing I would like you to try is with a piece of paper, and it can be any kind of paper. I am going to use my usual just blank piece of lined paper, so grab yours. And I would like you to draw a place where you would like to go. I know it's hard right now since we are trying to stay at home to keep everybody in our communities safe because there's a sickness going around. I know it's hard that we can't really be together or go fun places that we used to be able to go to. Just for right now, we can't. And it's hard. It's hard to wait. And we're going to be waiting for a while longer. So I would like you to draw a place where you would like to go. And it can be just you going, or like our character in the book, you could draw somebody to go with you to this place. And when you go, I would like you to think of one thing that you would love to see. And I would like you to draw also one way that you will show your compassion and your caring and knowing in this space that you're choosing to go to, how to be compassionate there, because you'll know the right things to do and the wrong things to do. So, in this place you're going, make sure that in your picture and in any sentences you write that you're being respectful of this place where you're going. So, if I could go anywhere in the world, there happens to be an aquarium that I went to when I was your age, and I can remember it was called the kelp forest. And kelp is a kind of underwater plant, and I really liked to stand by this big tank that had these huge underwater plants growing in there. And they're not plants that we would have here in Minnesota. You would not find these in our lakes. You can find seaweed and other smaller things, but to give you an idea, this is about as big as I was looking into this aquarium. So it was pretty tiny. And I knew not to knock on the glass and not to run around because I didn't want it to be unsafe for the people around me. And I also didn't want to be disrespectful to the animals and plants that lived in this tank at the aquarium. It was very tempting, I can remember, to want to knock on the glass when things got very close that I wanted to see. And I can actually remember in this exhibit there were some sharks, and I was very excited to see the sharks because when I was your age I loved reading about sharks. So if you wouldn't mind, draw me a picture, and you can write about where you are, but make sure you're showing me in your picture something that you would love to go see, some place where you would love to go and be, and how you would still be compassionate and show that you wisely would know how to act just right in that place, to be respectful of the people and the plants and the animals who would be there with you. All right. That's all I have for you for Friday Literacy. But I will see you again in another video real soon. Gigawaba minanima banujiug.